Alright, and hello everybody, I'm the SweetBro27 and welcome to another Dokkan battle video. We have another good one for you today. I did what I thought was impossible for my box. This is final trump card beating the Omega Shenron event that just came out on Global. So this is not a no item run. I do actually use a couple of Weeses throughout this. However, looking back at the footage, I think I didn't need to because the RNG I got on this run was genuinely perfect. Almost every single thing that I needed to happen happened. Like you'll see, especially once we get to STR Omega, like things really like just kind of fell into place. So I do kind of think this would be impossible if you ran two DBZ duos as a lead. I did countless attempts with that, and I could never even get to the STR phase. But pretty much once I kind of changed the team up just a little bit, and had two GT duos as my lead, suddenly everything kind of started to fall into place. So even though we take right there turn one 529,000 damage, we're able to completely recover and we will be fine throughout the rest of this run. There were a lot of smart plays that were made during this run. There were a fair share of luck as well, as you'll see. But I feel like the team that we built was super solid. So obviously we have dual GT lead, we have the DBZ duo, we have the Super Saiyan 4s, we have Majunior, Zamasu, and Kai Goku, which is like a very solid groundwork for everything. And we have a no solid turn rotations. You'll see that I kind of have a turn rotation with Zamasu and Majunior that I like building up to, but I float almost every other character at least once, just because of how difficult this stage was and just because how like RNG kind of fell into place. I had to put certain characters in harm's way that I didn't want to, but because of that I was able to. You'll see the 4s, the Super Saiyan 4s, they were explosive throughout this run just because of how safe I was able to keep them. So on this turn, I'm actually not afraid about us dying. Since he supered in slot 1 last turn, I figured if he was to super, it would be in slot 1, meaning it would hit Zamasu, who has his 80% damage reduction, so I wouldn't have to be afraid about that at all. So no need to launch either of these standbys. I didn't want to recover quite yet, and I didn't want to have the defensive utility that Vegeta provides. So he doesn't even super on this turn, which is really surprising. I need to run this event a little bit more, because I thought this guy would like super in slot 1 every single turn, but it doesn't seem that way. He doesn't super this rotation at all. And I don't know what his cooldown is or anything, but like my brain is like so centered around like Zamasu or the Divine Wrath or Immortal Will event, where it's like turn 1 slot 1 they're supering, so you need to be able to tank like 2 million super attack turn 1. It's kind of like how my brain has kind of been warped. And Omega, he's just so different. He's just a completely different level of challenging, and that may just be because I'm not well versed in the stage yet. I don't know, but there is a lot of difficulty that this guy has. He has a lot of dirty tricks up his pocket. The only thing he could do that would make it worse is if he locked, and I'm very thankful he doesn't lock, because that would be a nightmare against this guy, even though he nullifies dodge for one stage. If he nullified dodge throughout the entire stage, that would be like ridiculously insane. So, looking at this turn, I actually decide that I want to do the counter here, thinking I would die. But then I was like, surely I won't be able to kill, so I can get a stack for the Super Saiyan 4s. The Super Saiyan 4s actually go crazy this turn, and they do kill. So we do get a stack here for Kai Goku, which is very good. He's going to get hit a couple of times so he can get some of his defense built up, some of his key support. Kai Goku is just so good. And even though on that very first run I did of this, where he took 500-something thousand K against Int Omega at the very last stage when I would have won. If you saw the other video, you know what I'm talking about, which was super disappointing. I still find him extremely solid to run in here. I need to kind of experiment with 23rd World Tournament Goku just to see out of the two who do I really think is better for this stage. But as I said just a moment ago, these guys absolutely pop off. They get several stacks here and they actually do kill Omega, which I thought was a certainty that this run would be over. But again, you'll see just the RNG of where the attacks are, the AoEs, everything just kind of fell into place and we were fine. So we do get the KO there. I kind of stare at the KO screen for a second because I'm like, oh shit, man, this is a dead run. But it actually isn't a dead run because we have a very solid defensive turn right here. You see that there is no slot 1 immediate AoE, so I'm able to kind of play around with what I do. So I do actually launch the DBZ duo standby right here. And the Majunior and Fusion Zamasu, like that will stay pretty much throughout the duration of the run, but all these other characters kind of have their time to float or whatnot. Now, floating this guy once you transform, I don't know if I'd really recommend it, just because I have, like, again, he is such, like, a defensive-oriented unit. I would say he's probably one of, like, from what I've seen, he's better than Oob, and I would imagine he's better than Sword of Hope, even though Sword of Hope does just, like, 1 billion damage. In terms of just defense, I've seen this guy do extremely, extremely well. But he was able to lock down slot 3, and then the next time we get him around, you know, you had that utility of launching just that massive Spirit Bomb, which does a ton of damage if you are given a crit. And Majunior, he's just doing Majunior things. You know him. He's just a solid defensive unit and an offensive unit as well. And then Zamasu, surprisingly enough, now again, I did use items, but Zamasu even, you know, deep into this fight, which I was worried about, especially since the ending phase is type disadvantage for him. With the usage of items and everything, Zamasu actually did a very solid job. I was quite proud of how my boy performed. He's still one of my favorite LRs. He's so slept on. So many people have turned sour on this character, and I hate it. And this is what I'm talking about, God tier RNG. Literally no attacks in slot 1. So that means I can easily plop the Super Saiyan 4s into slot 1, meaning they can get their super attacks beforehand. Because right now they are very fragile. They're not guarding. Their only defensive capabilities is how much they can stack. So the more I can stack with them, the better. And there's 1.5 billion attacks there at the end, meaning that Kai Goku can get fully built up in terms of his defense. He should be able to get his 5 hits on this turn. I'm pretty sure he does. I don't actually remember. I think he does get all 9 hits to be fully built up offensively, but that is much, much later into the fight. So yeah, even type disadvantage, look at how much damage the 4s are doing. Again, I'm so scared for next year because these guys are likely to easy A in a year's time. And it's going to be so much power creep because these guys to this day are still good. The type disadvantage are doing great damage, and they actually do very well throughout the rest of the fight. And real quick, I just kind of want to break my immersion because I know I'm a little bit behind on recording or whatnot, but Gogeta and Broly for 9th Anniversary Part 1, I'm super excited. Hopefully we get Cellmax and Beast Gohan for Part 2. I'm still really kind of hoping just for the meme we get a base Goku and a Super Saiyan Goku, just because that would be hilarious, but in all honesty, I'm super excited. I'm hoping we still do get Beast and Cellmax, but I'm very happy with the choices that they made. But yeah, back to the run. So, you know, we're tanking very well. Kai Goku, obviously, he's doing Kai Goku things, and we get to live yet another turn. So, so that was a very good turn. He does heal up there at the end. I'm pretty sure we get to it on turn 8. Yeah. So yeah, because we did that, even though they took 82,000, which is a lot of damage, that is, you know, type disadvantage or whatever, but we're still doing fine. And again, he didn't super before his AoE, meaning that the AoE did way less damage. Now, if it was a super and then an AoE, I mean, even Kai Goku's taking damage, I think we probably would have lost there. But yeah, we're on this turn, we actually get to do the revive, so Zamasu is going to get built up a little bit more in terms of getting his hits, and then I think we die on the AoE itself, so I don't believe Majunior actually gets to attack on this turn, but that is fine. You don't have to do a Vegeta attack before you revive. It's just if you are able to allow Vegeta to attack and then launch the Super Spirit Bomb, it just does 1.5 billion more damage, even if it doesn't crit. I'm pretty sure, I'm not exact on the numbers, but I think if Vegeta does a double super and the super bomb doesn't crit, it will do more damage than if he doesn't attack and you do get a crit, I believe. Yeah, right there, look at Zamasu. See, that's kind of what I expected Zamasu's level of tanking to be. 286,000 with 40% damage reduction, which is insane. But now we're on to this turn, and I actually, unfortunately, have to launch the other Spirit Bomb because of just this weird position we're in. I didn't want to just waste the Spirit Bomb because by the time the DBZ duo would have shown back up on another main rotation, the standby would have ended, meaning that we wouldn't get to use it at all. So I figured now would just be the best time to use it. We did put them into slot 3, however, so we can get them a couple more herbs, just so it can be even more like giga charged. With launches, we don't get a crit, unfortunately. It really doesn't do a lot of damage. It's type disadvantage, but that's to be expected. Now, right here, I don't necessarily know if that Whis was necessary. That was probably a waste. Looking at this turn, you see Omega, obviously he's super scary, and I have 2 physical units who are type disadvantage, but they took it both very well. I didn't look at what their defenses were at the start of the turn. I really need to get better at checking defense, but like mid-turn, so that way for the audience, you guys can actually see kind of like what stats we're rocking with. This was one of many attempts that I did, so I didn't really expect anything special out of this run until obviously, you know, we got the dub. So I wasn't really thinking like, oh, we need to showcase stats, we need to do this, we need to do that. I do need to get into a better habit of doing that though, just for the sake of, so you guys can really see kind of what's going on. I don't know if you have like like, I don't know if it's really possible, or if you have like a super mathematician-esque brain where you could be like, oh, well, I know what his stats would be because of how many stacks he got or whatever. I feel sure you probably could, because everything in this game just kind of ultimately boils down to math and probability and stuff. And like, it's just, all of it is attack stacking and defensive stacking. So if you know what the base starting defense is, you could kind of reverse engineer it. Because I do show like the links and the builds and everything I have on all the characters. Also, this is my headcanon right there. You saw that we got an attack break. We also did get a double super from Gogeta. He doesn't super on this turn, so my headcanon is that we actually got to attack nullify it. And if we didn't attack nullify it and we did not counter it, we would have most certainly been dead. I love Gogeta to death. He's, again, one of my favorite units, favorite releases ever. I'm so excited for when they EZA in a year plus time, hour. But unless he countered it, which is a 50-50, but normally that counter frauds me out all the damn time, we would have been dead on this turn. But thankfully, we were able to get a couple of stacks here defensively for the DBZ duo. That way they'll be much safer going into this int phase. So now that's kind of the point in the run where I got really excited, because I was like, all right, cool. We still have like the Zamasu domain if we wanted to do that, even though it would be kind of stupid to do it on this team with the amount of superclass units we are running. That is something we have in our back pocket. We still have the giant form, we still have the active skill from Majunior, we still have the spirit bomb from Kai Goku. I believe we still have the HP recovery from Kai Goku as well, because I don't think we've dropped below 40% HP at any point throughout this run, meaning that we have, even though we wasted our 2 standbys, we still have a lot of defensive and offensive capabilities that we were able to use if we need to throughout the rest of this run. Now, on this turn, obviously, we're in no sort of danger at all. Zamasu still has 80% damage reduction because we used a Whis last turn. Majunior, I'm really not afraid of him, even with the AoEs, because, again, 40% damage reduction. And he is an extreme class unit, and it's not like we're in the Sin fight. I don't like running him in the Sin fight because he has type disadvantage against all those AoEs, but here it's type neutral, and especially with like BBB next to Zamasu, I didn't really know if I needed to be afraid or not. I do kind of like spam items throughout this phase because I was really hoping to get the dubs. That way I could get the mission done, so we could get this video displayed, or displayed, what is the word I'm looking for? Displayed, I guess, or premiered to you guys. I don't know. And obviously Kai Goku, he's Kai Goku. He's still fine. He's still guarding, surprisingly, because we got him on turn 3, and he's actually going to eat a super here, but no, Majunior is going to eat the super, excuse me. I saw the AoE, and I thought we were already into slot 3, but no. But look at how much damage Majunior just took. That was with 40% damage reduction and launching a bunch of additional supers. Now, I don't know what this guy's attack stat is, but seeing as how he did 50 whatever 100 or 500 something damage to Kai Goku post super attack with support when he had 1 million defense, I have to imagine he's launching like a 1.7 million, which doesn't really sound all that scary in comparison, but I don't know why, but he just hits hard, and I have lost a lot to this int Omega. Even though I do have to kind of agree that STR Omega is just slightly scarier if you go fast. If you kind of go through it slow, I really haven't struggled with the STR Omega very much. Int Omega, though, he is a dominant, daunting threat. And this was like the run where you kind of got to see like how scary that STR phase was, even though we had very good RNG. He was doing damage to Kai Goku, even though, you know, type advantage and guard and all that other good stuff. He does a lot of damage too if he supers and then does those AoEs, which is like, I think, the scariest thing he does. The cheekiness about this guy is he does a bunch of AoEs, he almost always supers in slot 1, and he lowers defense on super. So even though he's not hitting all of your units super hard with an AoE, your slot 1 unit, who's supposed to be your most defensive unit, is taking more damage on AoEs. And then on the next turn, I believe that debuff is still lingering, that's like the scariness that this guy does. He makes your like defensive options not defensive, and that's where he can really catch you lacking. But we did also launch yet another Wii, so we're safe on this turn and we're safe on the next turn. With items in this phase, I really don't think you need to be afraid ever. Gogeta is doing very well for himself. You know, he's doing the attack breaks, he's doing all the versatility that I would expect him to do. And yet again, we're just going to be plopping Zamasu into slot 1. With 80% damage reduction, he's basically just Golden Frieza at this point. And then we can get a bunch of orbs over here for the DBZ duo so they can do a shit ton of damage. This is where they could really shine. In a stage like this, where we're super deep into a fight, we don't have to worry about going slow anymore. We need to worry about getting this shit done as quickly as possible. they do an absurd amount of damage, especially with them having their built-up crit, having a 50% chance to crit, and we're actually getting a Dokkan attacks. Now, don't pay attention to the Dokkan attack, just trust me that I hit every single one of these without fail, and we get to do a bunch of damage with Zamasu. It would have been nice if I could have put the DBZ duo into slot 1 if I trusted them there, because honestly, with the Dokkan attack and all of their attacks, we might have killed had we done it that way on this turn. But I had to be safe. I just don't know enough about this event yet, really, like when it comes in terms of like how much damage he does. Even with a Whis, I didn't really want to risk that, because if he supered, I don't know. Again, I've seen like some very defensive units take a shit ton of damage. But again, I mean, Kai Goku without his guard at that point, maybe these guys technically have guard because they have type advantage. I don't know. I could have maybe put them into slot 1. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section down below if that was a misplay or not. Even though, you know, I get the dub because obviously I'm making the video. And yet again, Majunior is just doing Majunior things. We still have his active skill and his giant form in our back pocket should we need to use it. I actually believe throughout this run, we don't use either, which blows my mind. We had a lot of abilities that were on the table, but we just never had to use them because, again, just RNG was in our favor all the time. I think outside of turn 1, we don't really ever drop below like 50% HP. There were a couple of times, you know, where we like would eat a super attack or whatever, and we'd be like on the cusp of having a lot of these abilities be able to proc, i.e. the giant form, his active skill, all these other abilities, but very rarely outside of turn 1, because again, we did eat 529,000 on turn 1. Now, let's see, they actually supers on slot 3, which I think is super rare, but yeah, we saw there, they double-digit tanked with all of their additionals and the Wii, so I guess I could have plopped them into slot 1, but this is, I believe, the winning turn, so we launched the active skill, meaning that Gogeta will be doing guaranteed crits. He does just a trillion damage, like, really, I love that guy, and this, well, look at me, I'm actually checking out stats, I forgot that I did that. So at this point, we actually no longer have a Whis activated, but I feel like I can very safely put Kai Goku into slot 1. He supered in slot 3, and he supered late into slot 3 in the last turn, meaning I really don't think he's going to super in slot 1. So we just have to contend with a couple of attacks, and then the AoEs, which actually... oh, I love dodging. And then just a little bit of damage over there on the GT duo, which is not really too surprising. They have 50% damage reduction at this point, but the starter turn defense really isn't too high. So we have Kai Goku over here doing a decent amount of damage himself, but really all I need him to do is just tank attacks, which he does very well. Another wave of AoEs coming in here. As we see there, Gogeta's actually double-digit tanking, but that's can be assumed because, you know, he launched the active skill, and he's type advantage, which is, you know, to be expected. Now we have the 18 key, so we're getting yet another attack break, and we're getting guaranteed crits on this turn, which is super nice. We get the additional. We actually had very good additional luck with Gogeta, which I feel like if you go back and watch some of my other videos, we don't. But we do launch a lot of 12 keys, which is super nice because he gets 100% attack and defense on his 18 key, and then he gets 50% on his 12 key. And right there, yet, we got a triple super turn. Super rare for this character to do. Or at least from my experiences right there, but he was left with just a sliver of health, and yet again, head cannon, we attack broke the super attack, but the GT duo are the ones who actually get the dub, so this was a very hard-fought fight. If you asked me to replicate this, I don't think I could, at least not with this team. There was just a lot of RNG happening at all the different moments in there, a lot of crucial plays, a lot of clutch placements of wherever like supers or AoEs were, and I really don't know. I misplayed with my items. I used them on turns that I did not need to. So let me know if you think that this was possible to do a no item run, or if you want me to go back and try to do this no item with this exact team, please let me know. But that is going to be all for this time, guys. I've been the Sweeper27. I'm a variety Twitch streamer and an up-and-coming YouTuber trying to make it big in the world. I have a Twitter, a Twitch, and a TikTok, the links of which can all be found in the description of this video. While you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, share me around, and leave me a comment. I love it when you guys interact. You've been very positive in the comment section below, so let's keep that up. But yeah, so as always, I've been the Sweeper27, and I am signing off.